This is Obsidian ASMR. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for future videos. Welcome to the first half of my What Happened in Dragon Ball GT series. You may be returning viewers from my What Happened in Dragon Ball Z series, or this may be a video that's been recommended to you by YouTube. Well, what we do is we recount what happened in Dragon Ball, which is an anime and manga series that I've loved since childhood, and I've got a number of friends that I've bonded with and stayed friends with over the years, partly because of our shared love of Dragon Ball. So, what is Dragon Ball GT? It's a good question. And to really explain it, I've got to tell you what happened at the end of Dragon Ball Z, where the series creator, Akira Toriyama, had become fatigued and jaded with making the series through the sheer weight of expectation. The series had become increasingly popular, and it it went, I should say, a long way to creating mainstream appeal for anime in the West, not just in Japan. So, Majin Buu had been defeated, and Toriyama had been burnt out, but the corporations, and more specifically Toei Animation, were not ready to give up on Dragon Ball quite yet. So, with Akira Toriyama's blessing, they started production on a completely new series called Dragon Ball GT. And there's a lot of speculation as to what GT stands for, but the general consensus is Grand Tour, and we'll get to why in a bit. But effectively, unlike Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, there was no manga that Dragon Ball GT was based off of. It was all brand new concepts and storylines being developed by is Akira Toriyama? You might ask. Away, doing something else, enjoying semi-retirement and working on other things. I believe he did more Arale, as well as Dragon Quest and Neko Majin Z, which was a bit of a spoof on his own work, Dragon Ball Z. So he had very little involvement in the series, so a lot of fans view Dragon Ball GT as non-canon. And I have to say, the series gets quite a lot of flack and negative reviews or comments, mostly because it wasn't based on a manga. Which is interesting, because Dragon Ball Super technically was not based on a manga. At least to begin with. They have started and substantially increased the manga. But my understanding was, and correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, the series initially started out without a manga series. So there's a bit of a parallel there. There are some concepts from Dragon Ball GT that Akira Toriyama definitely likes. And we'll get to those in a bit. So, what we're going to do is we're going to flip this over and we're going to take a look at the Black Star and Baby Sagas. I have to say, the Baby Saga is very good, to be fair. So the back reads, after enduring trials that would have crushed any other soul, Goku is now faced with the most important journey of his life. The Dragon Balls have been scattered to the ends of creation. The universe is dense with danger, and the Saiyan hero must plunge headfirst into the peril. For if the 7 magic relics of Shenron are not gathered within a year's time, Earth will meet with final catastrophe. Alongside his friends, Pan and Trunks, Goku will struggle against the most formidable evils yet. Be they savage beasts with the power to crumble mountains, false gods intent on sacrificing those who believe, or cruel manipulators of science who seek to strip the good of all power. The countdown to oblivion has begun, and before the clock strikes eternal midnight, the most incredible menace to ever threaten existence will rise. Sounds exciting, but when I read that out loud, it does sound like it's just been directly translated from the Japanese, because some of the sentences aren't complete from what I can read. So, let's jump in. always love these little pamphlets that they do, telling you all about Goku, who looks a lot shorter. I wonder how that happened. Pan, his granddaughter, who is now a bit of a teenager and tomboy. Trunks, and Giru, or Gil. You've got Majin Buu and Oob, and later on, Majoob. Then the enemies that we've got: Emperor Pilaf, who you might remember from the original series, Mai and Shu, Don Ki and Doltaki, the ever formidable General Rildo and the Sigma Force, Dr. Mew and Baby, and someone that looks quite scary. So Dragon Ball GT didn't actually have that many episodes. And part of the reason for that, I guess, is the premise, which is established in episode 1, where Emperor Pilaf finally manages to get his hands on the Dragon Balls after a long search for them. When wishing Shenron, or conducting his wish, I should say, with Shenron, he messes up and turns Goku back from his adult form into a child, which is reminiscent of the Goku that he knew way back in the day. The difference is the Dragon Balls that were used were the Black Star Dragon Balls, not the typical red Dragon Balls. And what that means is the balls aren't scattered after a wish across the earth, but across the universe. Furthermore, King Kai makes the gang aware that if the balls aren't returned to Earth within 1 year of the wish, the entire planet will explode. What I would say about that is I find it interesting as a concept because, a year is different on Earth as it is to Jupiter or Mars or whatever. So I guess if you're going to use them, you should go to, I don't know, Pluto, if that's still a planet, and try and do the wish there. So, with that news, our heroes set out to get the Black Star Dragon Balls from space. And originally, the plan was for Goku, Gohan, Trunks, and I think Goten to go off into space to try to find them. However, Pan, Goku's granddaughter, feels a bit left out. So, she feels she's ready to go along on the adventure rather than sit at home. Goku gets child, and as a way to try to extort money from Bulma and Vegeta. But obviously, being Goku, it doesn't work. So Pan sneaks aboard the ship, along with Trunks, but not Goten, who misses out because he's become a bit of a ladies' man and a bit scatterbrained, which is true to the previous character. So the first planet they land on is Imeka, where the Imekians are money-hungry swindlers. I don't remember this episode much. But effectively, the planet's quite hostile. And, they have to get off there without losing money or their lives. Honestly, don't remember it. But this goes into episode 4, where they have to salvage parts for their ship, whilst also being public enemy number 1. And that's where they first encounter Donkey's army, locked and loaded. In the next episode, Goku, Pan and Trunks realize that the Imekians are suffering under Donkey, but instead of facing him, they end up facing Legic, who, causes a bit of a problem. But then they end up surviving and beating Donkey, thanks to Goku. And they end the episode, or begin episode 6, by leaving Imeka to a planet where everything is larger, a bit like Texas. So one of the larger-than-life elements on the planet basically eats one of the Dragon Balls. And obviously, Goku, Pan, and Trunks have to try to get the beast to give the Dragon Ball back. And I'm sure I know that they do so. I think they end up killing it, but I can't remember. I do remember the next episode, or 2, which is Trunks the Bride, where they encounter Tsunama, which is a creature that seemingly has the world trembling in fear, because his whiskers can cause an earthquake, so it seems. And in order to appease Tsunama, the villagers of this planet offer up a bride every so often. So, the hijinks occurs when the gang decide to dress Trunks up in drag and offer him as the would-be wife. In the next episode, Tsunama falls for the plot Tsunama has previously taken. But in a typical kind of Dragon Ball swerve, Tsunama doesn't actually cause the earthquakes with his whiskers, but rather he can sense well in advance when they're going to happen, and thus can use that knowledge to his advantage. It also turns out that Tsunama is nothing to be feared, and if anything, he just wants to be loved, which doesn't everybody. Bit sus the way that he goes about it, but ultimately that's his motivation. So the gang do manage to get the Dragon Ball, I think, and also save the planet from the impending volcanic eruption and bring peace between the villagers and Tsunama. They set off then into the no. They would have set off with the Dragon Ball, that's right. But it gets stolen by 3 strangers. That leads Goku, Pan and Trunks to try to track them down and follow them in Lord Lud. They find them on a dangerous asteroid. And the 3 mysterious strangers offer up this Dragon Ball to their leader. It turns out that these 3 strangers are the Para brothers. And the cave-ridden planet of BA allows Goku, Trunks and Pan to run into a pack of Muma, or giant worm-like species with a taste for humans. So, the Para brothers are able to entrance their victims through the power of dance, and it can only be described as kind of like jazzercise. Yeah, they're very eccentric and very Dragon Ball, and one of the more iconic, I guess, enemies in the series. So, this is where Pan and Giru, who I think was found on Imeka, I believe, are in a fight, or at the mercy of the Para brothers, and end up stuck on their spaceship, heading towards Cardinal Muchi and his demented regime. But don't worry, Goku and Trunks are hot on their heels. Effectively, this is where we meet, or encounter, the real Lord Lud. And what is he? I think he is the Trunks and Goku have to fight off Cardinal Muchi Muchi. I don't think they've got a profile for him. Yeah. So Doltaki is a kind of cult-like leader, and his followers are quite gullible because Doltaki has a thing for dolls, and Lord Lude is effectively like a massive marionette. Again, a bit of a swerve. And once they're defeated, in episode 13, yeah, by them I mean Cardinal Mochi Mochi. It turns out that the person behind Doltaki is actually Dr. Mew, who feeds Doltaki and Pan into Lude. I'm wrong about Lude. Lude is a kind of like bio-android, which was quite popular due to the Cell Saga. So they're using the life essence of cult followers who are in a doll-like state to resurrect or bring online Lord Lude. So Dr. Mew then also feeds Pan into Lude, which pretty much gets him there, ready for resurrection or full operating power. In episode 14, Pan and the Parapara brothers forced Doltaki to reveal the secret to escaping Lord Lude. Whereas Goku has to kind of fight off the monster, mechanical beast, without hurting Pan, so he can't just bulldoze it with a Kamehameha. They do end up doing so, and also getting the Black Star Dragon Ball in the process of saving Pan. And at this point, Doltaki is taken into custody, but Dr. Mew escapes into the shadows. So episode 15 picks up with Trunks and Goku considering taking Pan home so she doesn't continue to get in harm's way. And this is something I wanted to talk about, because effectively the team originally wanted to do a variety show. That's the team at Toei Animation, where every week, or every couple of weeks, they would send the trio to a new planet, find the Dragon Ball, get in some kind of classic Dragon Ball style capers and hijinks, wasn't very engaging, and the audience wasn't very enthralled because there wasn't a overarching villain. They were also aware at this point that it was becoming quite repetitive, with Pan being the damsel in distress and Goku effectively coming to her rescue over and over again. Trunks was also massively underutilized, but it's interesting that the initial episodes of this series focused way more on Pan. But from here on out, you start to see a marked change, where the focus starts to shift towards Goku. So, effectively, Giru in episode 15 detects another Dragon Ball on a desert planet. And effectively, it's one of those where they go and fight a giant centipede, manage to recover the Dragon Ball, and move on. And for the next one, the ship passes Giru's homeworld. And this is where the series starts to turn. So, what should have been quite an innocent trip turns into something far more sinister, where Goku and Trunks are held captive by General Rildo, who is also under the control of Dr. Mew. So Pan has to pretend to be a robot, and ends up almost saving them until her cover's blown, and then she has to fight Nat. Of the Sigma Force cannon in battle, although I don't really see which one of those that is. I imagine it's that one, but I could be wrong. So, episode 18, Goku is freed from Dr. Mew's laboratory by Pan, but then he has to go face to face, toe to toe, with General Rildo. And the Sigma Force cannon, which is effectively like a transformer. They can combine their mechanical bodies into many different weapons. Episode 19 shows that the lovable robotic sidekick Giru is in fact a double agent who has been working or drawn our heroes into the path of Dr. Mew and the homeworld, kind of like breadcrumbs leading them into a trap. But he is a little caught in two minds, or two hearts, having grown fond of Pan, more so than Goku and Trunks. That is when, having defeated the Sigma Cannon Force, or Sigma Force Cannon, they then come face to face seems to have been powered up by the components of the Sigma Force. In episode 20, Rildo takes on a kind of T2 liquid robot form due to the planet that they're on. And this is also where Trunks gets captured in liquid metal and shipped off to Dr. Mew. Pan is trying to hunt down Giru, while Goku is fighting General Rildo. And the General reveals that basically his power source is the planet, which is a lot like Metal Cooler with the big Yeti star. Probably took inspiration from that. Further to this, both then, Goku and Pan, become frozen in metal and get sent to Dr. Mew. The reason why he wants them is to drain their power, their Saiyan power, and be able to use them for himself. And that's where Giru actually becomes a triple agent and makes the save by freeing Trunks. So this is kind of where the series starts to create that big bad that I was telling you about, kind of out of nowhere. So Trunks reveals that effectively he and Giru hatched a plan to get here to face Dr. Mew, because they'd learnt of this experiment that he was conducting called Baby. And the whole point of Baby is that he is a parasite that can infect hosts and control them and move from body to body. So effectively, Trunks' plan was to come and destroy Baby before he could get loose. Well, they managed to defeat and kill Dr. Mew here, but in the process, Baby, or rather, they don't kill Dr. Mew. They almost do, but Baby escapes in the body of Dr. Mew. So the mission is not accomplished, but the antagonist is revealed. But they don't know that Baby got away. So in the next episode, they all, Goku, Pan, Trunks and Giru, go out to recover the remaining Dragon Balls. And that is where they uncover some distressing news, which is that effectively, when they land on planet Vidal, to save this young boy, it turns out that that young boy has Baby in him, which is why he was kept alive. He escapes again, and then the focus switches back to Earth, Goten getting into a fight with some random roughneck that we know is infected by Baby, who's managed to get home or get back to Earth. And in the process, Baby has been, or in the time that he's got back to Earth, he started to infect people and get them under his control. In that fight with Goten, Goten can take one of them, but he can't match the hordes that start to appear. And that is when he gets infected by Baby. And the whole point here is Baby wants to take over the Saiyan bodies and get the strongest Saiyan that he can. Ultimately, Goten succumbs and is infected, and then quickly infects Gohan. But that isn't enough. And in episode 27, the two of them, under Baby's control, attack and infect Vegeta. Meanwhile, our heroes have basically found all of the Dragon Balls and are heading back to Earth to sort the wish out, or just to gather them. In episode 28, now in control of Vegeta, Baby has effectively subjugated or infected the planet. And his plan turns out to be revealed when Goku, Trunks, and Pan arrive back on Earth with the Dragon Balls. Effectively, it turns out the Baby is a Tuffle, and the Tuffles were the original inhabitants of Planet Vegeta, or Planet Tuffle. And the Saiyans were more brutish than the Tuffles, who were more intellectual, scientific, etc. And the Saiyans basically committed genocide and eradicated almost all of the Tuffles. But Dr. Mew was able to resurrect Baby using Tuffle DNA. And now Baby wants to resurrect Planet Tuffle and usher in a new age for the Tuffle race, which I always thought was quite the nice dynamic, and it kind of matched Vegeta and what Vegeta wanted for the Saiyans. It was quite weirdly poetic and mirrored one another, if you get what I mean. But effectively this sets up a fight between Goku and Baby Vegeta. But there's no help for Goku in this one. So, in episode 30, Goku's basically dead, having taken a full power blast from Baby Vegeta. And that's where Goku's as the final threat is defeated, or seemingly so. Miraculously, Kibito Kai used instant transmission to save Goku from basically being vaporized by baby Vegeta. And they end up, weirdly, in this world where Goku has to play a game of chance to win. It's strange, but it is what it is. Meanwhile, Planet Tuffle has been resurrected, and baby Vegeta is moving all of his followers over to that new planet. There is one person that hasn't been overtaken by baby, and that is Oob, who has actually been saved by Martian Buu, I think along with Mr. Satan for a time. But Oob and Martian Buu have now merged, a lot like Piccolo and Kami did in Dragon Ball Z. So now there's no more Martian Buu. He's gone as a character, and in his place is Majub, who at this point in time was one of the strongest characters in the series. Goku, meanwhile, has now been reunited with the old Kai, and they're looking to train him to unlock the power that is required to defeat Baby. And I think Majub and Baby basically go toe-to-toe for a while, but it's not enough. Then we get to the fate of the Earth in the Tales Tale. And the plan the old guy has is to stretch out Goku's tail and provide him with long-gone powers that are only achievable if he still had his Saiyan tail. Oob starts getting beat down. Oh no, I've got this wrong. It is just Oob in episode 32, but it's episode 33 where Majin Buu steps in to save Oob, who's getting beaten down by Baby. And that's where the two of them combine into being Majub. So I was slightly wrong, so forgive me on that one. And then finally, in episode 34, Goku's tail has been stretched out, so he heads back to Planet Tuffle to fight alongside Majub. But he's too late, and with the odds stacked against him, Goku is alone, having to face down Baby and all of his friends, who are being mind-controlled by the parasite. Is there anything that our hero can do to save the day against such unimaginable odds? Well, we'll have to wait till next time. So with all that being said, thank you so much new subscribers. I'm really glad that you've joined us on this road to 1,000. With every passing week, we get closer and closer and closer. And I'm just blessed to have this reaction from you all. So all that's left for me to say is take care of yourselves and each other.